All right, we're green, so. So this is the Budget and Finance meeting for Thursday, August 29th, and we're opening the meeting. Our first item is taking the roll. Did everybody sign in on the sign-in sheet? It's making its way around, so we'll assume that goes.
You got it already.
Next item is approval of the agenda. Do we have a motion to approve the agenda?
I make a motion to approve the agenda.
All right,
I second it. Go ahead, Missy.
You can second it, Lawrence.
I second the motion.
Don't argue about it.
Yeah,
No.
all right, all in favor?
Aye.
Public comments. Anybody
Back
have a
out real
public
quick,
comment?
Missy.
I don't see much public. There's a few officials back there. So no public comments. And then our next item is approval of the minutes that I finally got done for y'all from the last two meetings, so I apologize about the delay, but, draft sitting in your package. That first one was kinda long because that was the meeting we were doing all the, June 13th, July 25th is kinda long. That was the meeting we were doing all the final, budget things. Is that out of order?
need a motion?
Yeah, hold on just a second. Just didn't look like I would remember. Yeah, the sheets are just kind of out of order, so at least in my copy. So maybe it's good in everybody else's. All right, so yeah, I'll take a motion.
I make a motion we approve the minutes.
Okay.
As written.
I'll second this one.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, that passes. All right, so, I think, Marianne, are these your items you got on the grant request, or somebody here to talk
They're
about them?
actually, oh, no, never mind. Andy's here for number 7.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, I guess I am.
So we'll get a couple grant requests. Looked like the first one was free money, if we could get it.
Yes. Manchester Senior Citizen Grant. We do own that building. Dave, our grant writers, worked on this one and the other one. So you can read is to remodel the bathrooms so they're wheelchair accessible and meet the ADA standards.
Always a good thing.
Yes.
I see there's no match on that.
Yep. That's nice.
Do we want to take these individual or together? Let's go ahead and vote this one, because the next one has a match, just in case anybody wants to talk about that.
I'll
We-
make a motion on the senior citizens building.
Okay.
Grant.
I'll second that motion.
All right. Any discussion? All in favor?
Uh,
Aye.
All right. And then this next one, go ahead.
This is Tennessee Historical Commission, $250,000 for the courthouse. We do obviously own the old courthouse. It's to restore the hallway and museum walls, as well as flooring in the Coffee County Courthouse back to the original look of the 1870s.
How'd it look in the 1870s? Was it any good?
You know, I'll have to go get a picture.
Yeah,
I'm
photo
sure
of
I have
it.
it somewhere. I'm sure I was around before.
I hadn't been in there in
Yeah.
a long time. I'm sure.
Yeah, we should go over there. It's
Yeah.
really neat.
Yeah, I've been in there, but it's just been a while. So it's a 10% match on this one, so that'd be $25,000 for us.
Yes.
What would we take that out of if we did it?
Capital
Probably
project?
capital projects or the general fund, either
Okay.
one. Capital projects is always good since we have some additional funds in there.
That's a pretty good lick to do some restoration in our courthouse. What do you think, Mayor?
I like it.
It probably needs it
I'm
too.
sure it needs it, yeah.
Yep.
I haven't been in there in a while either, but last time I was, it was bad.
All right.
I'm good.
Anybody have a motion?
I make a motion to approve that
Okay,
grant.
I'll second that motion.
all right. Any other discussion? We just have to get a tour when it's done, right? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, so that takes care of both of those. And Andy, come tell us about your fancy boxes. Pass that around.
When I submitted my budget, we hadn't went through the March election or the August election. We've had several issues with most of y'all early voted, with the paper thermal ballots that we use in our voting machines, getting stuck in the machines. We've cleaned all the machines, we've had them looked at, we've blown them out, everything we can. The last option I have is we feel like because of the humidity in our building, that it's affecting our paper ballots and they're getting stuck in the voting machines. So I ordered new ballots for the November election. I just got them in a couple of weeks ago. But to help solve this issue, I feel like we need some kind of storage cabinet to store them in. I met with Rick. We looked at building a room back there and doing a humidifier. Looked at running a pipe through the roof. This is basically what I came up with. It's about $3,599 that I found. We can keep all our thermal ballots stored at the same temperature and try to keep that humidity out of them.
Are these built for that purpose, or is it just a generic refrigeration system of some type, or
It's a temperature controlled cabinet.
cabinet? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it
That's
basically
Yeah,
looks
we had
like a
some, yeah.
refrigerator,
Yeah.
but that's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
So we can keep the paper stored at the same temperature without the humidity getting into them.
Are those, speaking of it, you mentioned those with thermal ballots, and I guess I realized that. Is there any danger to the ballots of being overheated? Just, does that make them turn black or anything, like some kinds of thermal paper do?
From what I read, yes, if they do stay in sunlight or exposed to heat, they can turn gray.
Yeah.
We have had to dispose of some that have turned. If you look at some of the ones we had left over from prior elections, they'll start kind of rippling at the
Yeah,
bottom.
yeah.
And that's got to be that moisture that's getting in them. So I think this will protect our ballots, and these are about 11 cents each.
Yeah, how many ballots do you have to order to put in there?
For the November election, I ordered 40,000.
And they'll fit in that box?
Yes, yeah.
Wow, okay.
How many election cycles do you have to retain? How many years do you have to retain the paper ballots? Just
So-
1 year?
So this would just be for unused ballots. The ballots that came out of the election are kept for 2 years, but they would not have to be stored in this
He's not,
container.
Gotcha.
he's not worried about
Yeah.
wrinkling them, 'cause they're,
Right.
Basically,
Yeah.
right now, we have two different size ballots. And right now I have about 60,000 in stock that I need somewhere to put them.
yeah.
When you come in on Saturdays or Sundays, no heat, no air, it's very humid in here.
Yeah, I
It's
believe it.
pretty bad.
All right. And that's coming out of capital projects, so it's not out of the general fund. We got plenty of money in there, I assume.
I'll make a motion. I think that's something we need.
I'll second.
All right, so we have a motion and a second, approved purchase of temperature-controlled container for $5,000 for new ballot storage.
I'd like to say that Tennessee ranks #1 in election integrity, and I think we're doing our part
I do too.
to maintain that
I agree,
position.
I agree with that.
Absolutely.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right, that matches. This one may take a little more discussion. Longevity pay proposal forwarded from the policy. Are we gonna talk about that today?
We're not doing.
Oh, I'm sorry, 8. I don't know, I guess I had my hand laid over it funny. Oh, never mind, I put it on, check on the wrong one. Highway Department, it's Benton, he's not here.
No, but. Dennis,
Yeah, okay, go ahead.
The HWR committee approved the highway department staff to make the signs, on the road signs when
Right.
they're missing them and, stolen.
You're right, too many rifle shots and all that sort of stuff.
So, they approved for the highway department to do that, it's an agreement. The cost is $45 for the labor. And then the materials, both of these lines are already budgeted in our general fund budget, has been for quite some time. It's in 54130 is for the road sign materials. There's 15,000 in there, and then in the same account, 54130, 399 is other contracted services for the highway labor costs.
Okay.
So what we're going to do, I think, my opinion. When they have to go out and like put gravel down or whatever out for like the school system, they just build a school system, and then when they pay us, and we receive it into the highway fund as charges for services. So I thought this would just handle this the same way.
We agreed to do this if they build us every 30 days. Is that what
You
you're
bill us
asking them to do?
monthly, so we can,
Yeah.
When you say
Yes.
they, we're talking about the highway department?
yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
The highway department.
Just
Just
FYI,
for the labor, because we'll order, keep ordering
Okay.
materials like we
the
have.
Okay.
street signs, when they get taken down by thieves or vandals or whatever, it sort of hinders EMS
Oh, yeah.
to verify that their GPS and the street is actually the same one. And I did not know this, but we actually have our own little sign shop in this building back here with like a Cricut machine and all the sign blanks. And there's enough sign blanks back there that I don't think we'll be purchasing materials for a long time. And it's only appropriate, we felt like that we've sort of shifted around and around from the volunteer fire departments doing it to our rescue squad doing it, and it just feels like the street department, our
Should do
highway
that, yeah.
department knows the roads
So I
better than
think
anybody.
you just answered my
So-
next question,
yeah.
which was, did we have that already budgeted? So you're saying
Yes.
we didn't have the labor budget?
Yes.
So if we've already got the labor budgeted, why do we need to approve it?
Because highways.
Well, we're changing our agreement.
Okay,
Okay.
I got no issue with that, I just
Yes,
curious why
no.
we didn't just go
We
through it,
just
so.
feel like it's prudent that the highway department, they're used to working out on the roads and all
Yep.
that. They know where the problems are.
Yep.
They're the first one that gets the call every time there's a street sign missing. That's who gets the call, so let them handle it.
I
So
agree.
So does that come out of what budget?
what's already,
It's
but
already-
It's
already
already
budgeted.
It's
budgeted?
always been in general fund.
So they're just asking.
Just gonna approve the highway department to handle that.
Right.
And
I think there's $15,000 in there for labor.
Right.
And
Okay,
we're
so
not
we're just
gonna
approving
use
You're not gonna
that.
use it up in
Not-
one, no.
Not $45
If
a
they
pop.
do, then the sheriff needs to get busy investigating people's.
That's right, people taking signs. That's exactly right. Okay,
All right,
that answers,
Yep.
okay.
so you would like to make a motion on that then?
Go ahead.
I'll make a motion to
All right,
approve.
A second.
all right, a motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you. All right, now the longevity pay proposal. When do you, did you work on this one some, Tim? This has been one of your
Yes,
things
I
for a
guess
while.
you did too, didn't
One of y'all,
You
one of
wanna
y'all
let
wanna
us
tell
talk
us
to me?
about it?
No, I wasn't.
you? Okay, you wanna talk about it first and maybe do a motion, or you wanna do
Yeah.
a motion for some
You can go ahead and
discussion?
talk, either way, you can go ahead and make a motion if you want.
Okay. For the sake of discussion, I make a motion that we approve, the longevity pay to be implemented starting, retroactive, I guess, July 1st.
All right, do we have a second
Or,
on that?
well, to be brought before the commission to be
Yeah.
approved,
Yeah,
on July 1st. So,
do we have a second on that?
I'll second that.
Okay. All right, go ahead, Tim.
this come out of the ad hoc committee that we had, what, 3-4 months ago, 5 months ago. This is one of the things that come out, and we felt like it's important to send it on ahead of everything else that's coming down the line, this longevity pay. And it's already been to, policies and procedures, and they've looked at it and vetted it and approved it. And they've sent it over to us for our approval to pass it on to the commission. You see the policy, how it's written, as written, and I think we went over this before in this budget and finance, and I'm not sure.
I don't think we
You
have.
kind of discussed it informally, but we've not looked at this
We
policy.
really hadn't
Because I
formally-
forgot to put it on the agenda last couple of
Absolutely.
times, so
So,
apologize.
and the next page where you see this right here is a breakdown on all the employees that Mariana has run. And, yeah, that's probably, what, 3-4 months old, 3 months old, but I guarantee it's gonna be close. You know, it's all the time gonna give or take money, but, you see the breakdown on how it's given out and what number of employees are affected. So, I think it's a good thing. Encourages, it could encourage people to stay. sometimes it only takes just a little bit of nudging for that person to stay on or stay. And this could be that little bit of a nudge.
And this
Now-
passed out of the entire committee, right?
Sir,
It passed out of the entire committee, right?
it
The-
passed,
Out of your study group or whatever?
yes,
Yeah.
we all approved it to pass on, to move on.
Subcommittee on, special committee on pay.
You know,
Sorry, I was having
and this-
trouble playing with the numbers here.
You know, this is why it's called longevity pay, because, you know, the ones that hadn't been here long, you know, and your 5 to 10-year employees are not gonna see, they're gonna see money, but they're not gonna see the biggest bump. But the longer you stay, the more it adds up. So, and that's one of the reasons it's called longevity pay, to encourage you to keep working, to, you know, stay with us.
Mariana, what's our total number of full-time employees? Roughly speaking in the county?
It's about 325.
Yeah, so you'll notice here that like so this list, it starts at 5 years of service. There's only 163 of them. What's that?
About half.
About half our employees have been here less than 5 years.
Right.
Which is not great, I don't think.
And Mariana could probably tell you, we did this, we tried to get this passed 3 or 4 years ago. And we run the same number, and these numbers don't vary as far as the employees participating and stuff like I say, it's gonna go down a few, but up a few, but they're gonna stay consistent with what this is reading here.
Well, hopefully we'll get more that are staying.
It's gonna go up, and
It's gonna
hopefully
go
you
up
get
some.
more participating, it's
Yeah.
gonna go up, so.
And then when you look at this split out in the 3 categories here, the 5 to 14 is 106 of the 163. So those top 2 tiers, there ain't many in that.
I mean-
About 60 people out of.
The good thing is, if we if we got all 300 and something employees participating in it, we're doing something good somewhere down the line,
Yeah.
so.
All right. So this is showing a total estimated payout of $176,889. That'd be this year, right? That'd be
Right.
This year's current numbers.
That'd be about what it would cost,
And
right,
when would
Mariana?
when would it be paid out at the end of the FY?
I would make a recommendation to be paid out the last pay period in November.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Most cities, and this is not anything new, we're probably about the last agency, you know, because both cities do it, all the counties around us do it, so we're probably about the last one to do something like this, so.
Okay.
Where did you say that money would come from?
It would come from, depending on if it would be general fund, and then you have rural solid waste is in a separate fund, ambulance is in a separate fund, highways in a separate
It would
fund.
come
So,
from whatever fund?
Yeah.
And it says, the budget would have to support this each fiscal year? Okay.
Yeah.
Right, I mean, we can just let it ride,
Which is
don't
another
take no
way,
action on it,
which
let
is
it
another way
go.
of saying we'd have to vote. So you're basically saying that we're going to have to vote on it every year. If you say the budget allows it, that's in essence to me saying that you vote on it during the budget process.
Yeah, I
every
don't
year.
think, it's reoccurring. I don't think it'd be something that'd pop up. It's not reoccurring. We'd have to kind of say, approve it every year, yeah. And
It
I don't-
says, in the policy, it says the continuation or adjustments of longevity pay will be subject to yearly funding in the county's budget by approval of the Coffee County Commission. So we'll have to approve it
We'll
in
just
the
have to-
budget every year.
yeah,
But just like
approve
everything else that's in the budget every
Right,
year.
right,
So, but if you get where you can't pay it,
right.
Right.
And
but
you
there'll
know,
be pressure not to do
if you have, like I say, 275 and doing it, we're doing something right, so I'd suggest if we can afford it to leave it, so.
any other.
That's all I have, unless anybody else wants to talk about it, or Andy, you wanna say anything about it? You good with it? He was on the ad hoc committee, it's the
Okay.
only reason I asked Andy, cause.
Yeah, that's right.
He's one of the ad hoc committee members.
All right.
Yeah, I've got discussion.
Sure.
I think we need to look at it closer. I mean, I'm all for it. I don't know why we couldn't find money to give the employees a pay raise, but yet we can find money to buy them a cookie because,
So we found money for an 8.5% pay raise.
you know, it could have been more though.
It could have been, but I'm
It could
just
have
And
saying,
the people making $12 an hour, we couldn't find no money for them, so.
well, we did some of them.
But what I've got to say is $300 a year is only 6.9 cents an hour. That's not what retained me, and I don't think it's retained anybody in here.
Well, it's a starting, right? And it gets bigger every year for a while
Yes.
there, right?
Yeah, I mean, after 6 years, you don't start it till after you're fifth year, so. And that, but when you start it, you'll, let me see if I got this right.
Well, it takes 14 years to get more than 6.9 cents an hour, so.
No.
Yeah.
No, let's see, at least unless I misunderstood it, let's see. So what this is saying is that,
It says
I gotta find
it
my.
takes 6 years to get to $300 and then until the 14th year, so $300 up to 14 years, so that's only 6.9 cents an hour.
no, 60 years, $300, and then by the time you get to the 14th year, you're at 700. It goes up, what is it?
$50.
$50 every year.
Okay, well, it's still not
Yeah.
much more than
Yeah.
6.9 cents an hour, which I don't, it's not gonna retain me, and I don't think it would
Yeah.
retain anybody sitting here at this table. So I think it needs to be paid, if we're gonna do it, every 5 years instead of every year, because then every 5 years it'd be more money. It'd look a little better than 6.9
Every
cents an hour.
every 5 years.
I don't, what are you talking about every 5 years? You
Pay it every
are you
5
saying
years
zero
instead of
to
every
5
year.
years would be, $50 per year, and then 5 to 10 years would be 75, and 10 to 15 be 100? Is that what you're saying?
No, I said pay it every 5 years,
Instead of every year.
instead of every
But
year.
The only thing about that is who knows where we're gonna be at in 5 years budget-wise.
Right.
If we
So-
approved it tonight, like, for 5 years. I see what you're saying, but to me, like, when I left Coffee County, you worked here a long time, you worked here a long time. I've been here 25 years. I mean, yeah, that would be a little incentive. At least it's something.
Yeah, I mean, 25 years, it's $1 an hour, so it's still not a
Well,
lot. but-
you're looking at it as a wage thing, because it's not, this is not reoccurring, so it's not actually a wage, and it's not really a I wouldn't call it a bonus.
It's a retention bonus
It's
in
a
a
retention
sense.
bonus, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. This has nothing to do with our wages. This is just something extra that we're giving
Yeah, but
for
it
your
adds
years
up.
of service.
It just adds up to 6.9 cents an hour, which is not gonna retain
Well,
anybody.
it adds up. I mean, the longer you stay, the more you're gonna get paid, and that's why it's called longevity pay. And this model that's set up, I guarantee you, Mary Ann can tell you, every city, county around us has got the same model set up in basically the same way.
I know, but we still have a hard time coming up with a pay raise, but we can come up with this. And,
Well, I think we've done pretty good with the pay raise this
well,
time.
we did,
And,
we
you know,
did and we
that's-
didn't.
Well,
We did much better than we've done
we
in the
did a
past.
lot better than we've had in the past.
We're still left the employees way behind though.
Well,
But, of course, we're not in the military, but I was in the military, and every 5 years you got one, and 5 years was good. They can't give them every year, but every 5 years, then you look forward to the 10-year mark because you're gonna get a couple of $1,000, so you're gonna stay.
But it's the same difference. If I'm getting paid every 5 years, why would I stay 5 years for a small bonus? I mean, it's.
Yeah, well, this is a small bonus, so why
Well,
would I stay
but if
5
it's a,
years
if
for a
it's a
small
big
bonus?
number, then if I multiplied it by 5 years, it's still the same amount of money. It's just I'm waiting longer to get it. I'd rather have it every year is to have it.
Well, I
all
don't think
5 years.
$300 is gonna buy you a grocery cart full of
Yeah,
groceries.
that's true, but it might buy a Christmas present for your kids.
it might buy a Christmas present too, that's right. And that's basically why everybody does it, gives it to them in November.
Yeah.
Did your motion include the November payout? Is that what your motion said?
It says it here in the policy.
It says it in
does
the
say
policy.
November?
All this is mentioned in the policy that everybody be.
I see it.
Yeah. It's
Yeah,
there.
that's a good little Christmas shopping check for a lot of people, I think.
Any
And,
other discussion?
You know,
Yeah,
depending on
when
how
you're
long
making-
you've been here.
When you're
it's-
making $12.50 an hour, I guess $300 would be but it's not gonna buy you much for a Christmas present either these days.
Well,
Any other
I'm
discussion?
ready, yeah.
All right, well, if not, we'll call for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Are you abstaining?
No, I just think it's
Just- you'd
it
like to
needs
see
to be,
more, I get
it
that.
needs to be a little better. It's
All right.
just, it's not, we haven't discussed it enough. And we're trying to shove it down
Well,
everybody's throat.
I
tonight.
don't see that. I mean, it got discussed a whole bunch in this committee, and they put this whole proposal together and brought
It
it
got-
to us.
No, this wasn't discussed in the committee. This
Yes,
is
it was.
discussed in policies and procedures
No.
and gift to
No,
us.
it was discussed in ad hoc committee.
No, it
And then it
wasn't.
went to, yes, it was.
So, not these numbers, not the numbers that we got on here, not the numbers we have right here.
Well, we can go back and check the minutes on that.
Yeah, we
later.
can check, we can go
Okay.
back and check the thing.
Anyway, it's good, but it still ain't good enough.
Well, probably when we were discussing it, these numbers we have here were different than when we were discussing it back in March, because these are April 1st numbers.
Right, right. But in terms of the dollar values per
Oh,
year,
oh,
it's the same,
well, no, I
right?
guarantee you that the setup and the dollar value was just the same.
Yep,
Well, it doesn't matter. I'm still saying 6.9 cents ain't gonna retain nobody.
okay. They'll be happy to get it, though, I bet. All right, next item on the agenda, presentation from Winston Brooks of Tullahoma Economic Development Corporation on tax increment finance. So Winston has 32 minutes before there's another meeting in this room.
All right. Well, I'm prepared to
Yeah, I think so.
go about 50 minutes, so I'll try to cut through pretty fast. If you just pass it around. So I'm Winston Brooks. I'm the director for the Tullahoma Area Economic Development Corporation, or sometimes just for short, Tullahoma Industrial Authority. And it's certainly a pleasure to be here tonight. Thank you for having me. Let me present this to you. Also with us tonight is Charles Rush, our planner, in case any other questions may come up. And like I said, I do have some documents for you, so based on how this discussion goes, if we want to dig into the details, I can provide this for you as well. But what I want to do first is start with a short presentation. And, you know, Commissioner Brown was talking about the need for more revenue to provide funding for the employees. And so I think this is a really good deal that's going to help the county in years to come, help, you know, boost our coffers. And so I think we're seeing that on a lot of different levels throughout the county. So the Summerlin TIF presentation, and TIF stands for Tax Increment Financing. And we'll look at that just a little more closer. So if you turn to the next page, tax increment financing is a flexible public-private finance tool controlled by local governments, designed to support, the second bullet is not really germane to this particular project, but this third bullet there, the purpose of the TIF is generally to foster economic development and enhance the tax base. And that's what we're doing today with this project. Turn to the next page. So this graph talks about how the actual TIF works. And on the left-hand side, you have your property values axis, and you also have a little dot there at the top that says the date that the TIF adoption is going to be adopted. So hopefully, when this goes through the county commission and is passed favorably, that will be the date that it would be adopted. And by the way, let me just back up and say that we've been working on this for about 8 months. The developer came to us about 8 to 10 months ago. It didn't take us that long to work on this project. There were other things that were delaying the developer. But we've been looking at this, and my board, the Tullahoma Area, the TAEDC, their application review committee recently passed it out of the committee and has recommended to the full board to vote on it, and a favorable recommendation on September 24th. So that's our plan. We're planning on having a public hearing before the meeting on September 24th. And then once our board passes it, it also has to be passed by both the City of Tullahoma Board and the County Commission. So going back to this chart here, I think this chart makes it a little easier. So you've got on the left-hand side, you got the day it starts, the TIF adoption, and then you've got the time that it expires on the right, which in this case is going to be 20 years. And this property we're talking about is approximately 200 acres of farmland, and so your base tax is there in blue. And it's around $5,000 a year right now.
Winston, I'm gonna interrupt just a little bit.
Yep.
Let's just be really clear. So base tax is like the tax that property's paying right now today.
That's right.
Yes,
And that
just so you
tax
know.
will continue to come into the general coffers and not change. And the red part is the increment. So as the developer goes in and begins to put in the infrastructure, when it gets reassessed, it will assess for more. And so the property tax time will come, the property tax will be valued at more, it'll be at a higher assessment, and he will then have to pay more property taxes. Those property taxes will come in to the Coffee County Finance Department, and per this agreement, they will then put that into a separate account that is housed by my board. And then as that that infrastructure is placed in, there's some other, they have to, provide all the receipts and everything. We'll either reimburse him or he'll use it to finance it. This person may go get private financing. And so however, that we don't know the details on that yet, but that's kind of generally how the cash flows. But that's what the increment is. And so that's referred to as the TIF increment. And so on a project like this, it's pretty substantial. Let's see. And as it says there, it's used to reimburse the developer, pledged to support a potential bond or private debt service, and it's used to fund public projects.
Hey, Winston, I want to make one comment here before you leave, because sorry, I'm peeking ahead on your
Yeah, no, that's
presentation. So on this red portion right now, as it's shown in here, that would be 100% TIF, where all the tax increment is put into the proposal. This proposal, Winston's going to talk to you in a minute, they're actually not even asking for all of it. So we will get some of the growth as well in the 20-year period.
Sure. So that's a good point. And so this deal is a 60-40 deal. So the developer's going to keep 60% of it to do the development and give back 40% to the county and the city.
So as that red section goes up, we'll be getting 40% of that red right away.
And it's also interesting too to see how, as the project starts, the assessed value doesn't go up that much. So you don't have quite as much increment. But as it goes on, obviously, it gets assessed at more value. All right, if you turn the next page, the map on the left just shows the blue spot above Tullahoma Airport is the vicinity, and it's about 200 acres. Charles, do you want to talk about the development a little bit? They're looking at the concept plan,
Yeah, you got about 350 single-family homes, about 326 townhomes, and about 320 multifamily apartments. Also with that, you got about 6,000 square foot of retail space that would be included on that. And that, pretty much the entire exit will be on, and egress will be on North Jackson there.
And then right to the right, in what we're looking at here, I can't remember, is that the theater parking lot, or is that the?
Yes.
Yeah, so right when you go past Lowe's and past the movie theater,
Oh, yeah.
right on the left
It's
and
got
wrapping
about-
around.
Regal.
1,200 square, feet.
It's up a couple of parcels from
Yeah,
there.
1,200
Yeah.
Yeah.
feet on, Jackson. That's what it's
Okay,
got.
Yeah.
okay.
Question. We've got a problem in Manchester about sewer and water and schools. What's this gonna do
It's a great question.
in Tullahoma?
Great question. So the TUA has reviewed this plan and has,
Tullahoma Utility Authority.
what did I say?
You said TUA, but not
Oh,
everybody.
oh, yeah, yeah, the Tullahoma Utility Authority, they have capacity.
And
They-
we'll also
and
we'll
they-
give you guys a packet that has it on their letterhead, saying pretty much that they'll support
Right.
it. They've already done some, that was what pretty much put this project a little bit on hold with some of the sewer, they had to get to the easements.
Right. So as part of this process, it had to go to all of the departments, police, fire, schools, utilities, and they all had to, send in letters saying they've reviewed it and they can support it. But that's Tullahoma. Coffee County, it's not going to put a whole lot of pressure on the services that are coming from the county because it's all inside of the corporate limits of Tullahoma.
Yeah, it's gonna be mainly city services. It's gonna be affected.
We don't provide police, we don't provide fire, we don't provide water or sewer or trash pickup.
A little bit of police protection, but not much.
The sheriff.
The
Little?
sheriff, yeah, sheriff, yes, yes, yes.
I did say police. I
Oh,
didn't
okay,
say
yeah, that's right.
Then there's also just one other benefit I wanted to point out here. That retail section really matters. We did a tip for the mall several years ago, and the thing about the retail section is the day that gets built and opens up, you start collecting sales tax revenue.
Right.
Right, and they have projections based
I
on that as
remember
well.
doing that.
Yeah.
The sales tax, though, are not going to be affected. So like Commissioner Seaborn said, or Mayor Seaborn, I'm not sure, Commissioner Seaborn?
I'm commissioner sitting here
So
tonight.
Commissioner Seaborn said, as soon as that retail store is open, those sales tax start coming in. And they're also not taking any personal property taxes, only property tax. Now, I know Mary Ann may have some questions for me here in a little bit. I know what she's thinking. Okay. So that's kind of the concept right there. It's, obviously, it meets the needs of the community. We're in desperate need of housing to support all the jobs that are going to be coming in here and other growth. But Tullahoma's retail, commercial space is filled up. So we are in desperate need. We have, a dozen retailers that would like to be in the market, and this will certainly help that. I wish they would build twice that much. All right, if you turn to the next page, then you can see how this looks with the numbers. And so, this is a fair deal. Like I said, it was recommended by our board to be passed on to our full board. The application review committee has recommended to our board that it should be passed and passed on to our governing bodies. It's a fair deal. It's a 60-40 deal. It's also non-recourse financing, so there's no financial risk to the city or the county. And like we mentioned a minute ago, there's not a whole lot of risk to the county at this point. So if you look at the, this is over 20 years, so the total new tax, you can see for the county will be 28.6 million. And these numbers come from the Younger agency. Sharon Younger is are you familiar with her, Marion? Okay. So she's a renowned economist in the state of Tennessee. Well, she's not in Tennessee, but she's a renowned economist, and she does a lot of economic analysis, and most of the time, these are the reports that she uses 70% of the time in the state of Tennessee and other probably projects like this. So that's where these numbers are coming from, and if you want to see that report, just let me know. I'll send it to you. You probably will need some financial help to read through it, but these numbers have been pulled out. The dedicated taxes for debt service is $629,000, so that means that's kind of what they estimate to be pulling those tax dollars. And one other thing too, you're using future tax dollars. You're not taking tax dollars that you're already getting. And so in that respect, if you think about that chart we're talking about, I like to refer to it as kind of like a home equity line of credit, you know. But in this case, it's the future value that they're able to use those future tax dollars for. So that money, those tax dollars are going to go to service the debt. The base taxes, as you can see, are $112,000. And so if you divide it by 20, you can see there's very little tax dollars coming off the land right there. The public infrastructure TIF revenues is going to be $16.7 million from the county side, and this is the TIF revenue is all about the infrastructure, the dirt work, the sewer, the water lines, and the roads, and all this will be then dedicated to the city. And then so at the end of the day, the additional new taxes retained for services to the county will be $11.19 million. Once the project completes, they estimated it to be a little over $1 million a year of new tax revenue. And that is a high-level overview. And I will take any questions. I've got the agreement you'll be voting on that we can look at if you want to.
This is a question for Mary Ann, because I never can remember. Did the county school system get any part of property tax inside the city limits of Tullahoma?
Yes.
Yeah, so-
The school, all three school systems are on the uniform tax rate.
Okay, and that matters because also, Winston, I don't think you mentioned that, they're also not going to take the school portion, correct? Or did we sort that out?
So the way that the agreement is written is that the money can come to the county and the city, and they can spend the dollars any way they want.
Okay, I'm sorry, I misspoke.
No, that's okay.
Yeah.
No, it's confusing because we'll take it offline.
Yeah.
Unless we need to talk about it here, but
No, we don't need to talk about it here. Well, we can later on, when we have the actual proposal, all that stuff will be in great detail in a big package, right?
well, the issue was that when they started to look at the split of the school property taxes, it was hard to get down to exactly how it's split, and I'm not really capable of speaking to it. Maybe Mary Ann would like to speak to that a little bit. Is that a fair statement?
It's on the uniform tax rate or the Tullahoma tax rate you pay, if you know, in Tullahoma. The three school systems receive that portion of the property tax by their ADA numbers. So that's about, let's see, what is that? It's page 10. It's like $1. It's about $1.19 of the uniform goes to our three school systems.
Okay, so that's handled on this side, just like it always is then. So the bottom line is this number you're telling us, 11.19 million is total that's coming in. And
Correct.
it's coming in as a revenue stream. It gets proportioned accordingly. All right?
That's right. It would be controlled by the county to spend it any way whatever they choose. And we actually put that in there to be more vague like that, so that you would have the choice of how you want to spend it.
When's the projected start date on this?
Great question. So the projected start date would be, what the original agreement was, they said June of '25. We're a little bit behind, so I would say sometime in the year 2025 would be the proper thing. So,
Mid to late summer, maybe.
well, if we could get the agreement passed through both bodies this year, then we need to talk with them. We're actually waiting to hear back from the developer. The reason that it's important is that, and again, if you want copies of the agreement to read through again, I can pass them out, but there's a couple of stipulations in this agreement, and one of them is their start time. So once this is adopted, they have 3 years to start the multifamily and commercial, and then they have to finish it off, within that 20-year period. The single-family residential, they have 8 years to start. So if they start in, so they hopefully will start in 2025, but they have to have everything started within the first 3 years. And then they have 8 years to get the other parcels started. There's this one sheet too, this is kind of interesting, this is kind of, may help you understand. I won't, so this is a little spreadsheet, the only reason I'm showing it to you is it's just 2 lines, right? So this is just 2 parcels out there. So what'll happen though is as they go out and begin the construction, they'll begin to parcel it out. And so you're gonna end up with, it's 996 residential units, but some of it's an apartment. So it would be somewhere in the neighborhood of, 800 parcels. So this list is gonna grow by 800. And so what happens then is you track the original tax amount, and you've got to go in and do some pretty funny division on, $5,000 divided by 900 and whatever that, so then the increment goes way up. So that's kind of how you would you track this. And then what happens is that amount is then paid into the account to hold for the developer to be reimbursed.
But what we're anticipating, I think, is that there's gonna be maybe two to three phases of this development.
That's
Which
correct.
is what you'd expect. I mean, they're not gonna come in and build 900 units all at the same time, right? They're gonna sell
It's
some and
probably
continue to.
phase one.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
Charles can speak to that.
Yeah, you've got construction plans that they've got to get us, a lot of plans and details that has to be reviewed. So I mean, probably by the time we get those and goes through everything, we'll probably see about Q3, Q4 of probably 25, is maybe when they can start actually doing some of their work.
I wanted to add just a couple comments, Winston,
Yeah,
if you don't
please.
mind. So, these things are pretty specialized, because there's only so many of them a year that get done. There's a few lawyers in the state that really specialize in this. So we know 2 of them really well, because we've used both of them in different times, but there's one that's representing the developer, and then the TADC board has retained a lawyer, and that's all he does pretty much, is they specialize, his firm, in this sort of thing. Matter of fact, some of them helped write the legislation that enacted it in Tennessee. So we're well represented that way. There's no, like I said, there's no risk, there's no recourse back to the government. If the development doesn't work, then it just doesn't work, and if they've taken out a loan, they're responsible for the loan. And we're no worse off other than whatever inconvenience would be from having a piece of property partially developed. The other thing I was just gonna say is, when we approve it, what we're doing is approving the TIF as a whole, but then there'll be a detailed development agreement between the TADC board and the developer. And so the TADC board will be in charge of what, kind of like the industrial board's in charge of things. It is an industrial board type arrangement. So they will hammer out the exact details after we approve it and the city approves it. And after there's a first level agreement. But
Right.
this board will be, this commission will be agreeing that they can proceed with that under the tax benefits that are being gained for both parties.
Yep.
And then the ADC board will manage the agreement from there on out throughout the process over the next 20 years.
But we will move it to the full legislative body.
Yeah, oh, yeah,
for
yes,
approval,
yes,
right,
yes.
okay.
That's what we're doing tonight, just,
No, we're just really, he didn't even have the final
don't
proposal.
have to take action
This
on
is educational tonight.
okay, so it's good.
Yeah, no, this is just a brief the committee so that you'll be aware of it. And again, that's why, do you want me to leave a copy of the agreement?
It's up to you.
It's up to you guys.
It's heavy reading, I'll warn y'all. But
Okay.
if y'all want a copy of it,
So,
you can take and see it.
our attorney.
I would.
Okay, our attorney the other day told us that, so this is the economic impact plan. And this document is like the Constitution. The document that Commissioner Seaborn referred to, the development agreement, that will have all the details in it on how they can proceed with the building and the phasing. And so there's another document that will have to be negotiated, but that will be between our board and the developer. Anybody else?
I've got a copy of it somewhere.
Oh, yeah, I'll take one.
Y'all call me
Might as
anytime.
well.
My number's on the back page of that presentation. Welcome to, and I know you need one, Mary Ann. I'll go ahead and tell them.
I'll
You got
take
one?
one too.
You got, okay.
Yeah, go ahead and hand them out, but, you can read them tonight if you have trouble sleeping.
And why don't we just run through it real quick, just so you know what you're looking at when y'all take a look at it. I've highlighted some of the important parts.
Oh, now I don't, at least look off of your.
You didn't get one? No, no. you're good. So it's only a 6-page document.
I've got copies of it. He was gonna start
And,
going through it.
section number 1 just discusses the authority for it. Section 2 is the development of the project. And again, we also have the planning packet that has a lot of details about Beacon Companies. That's the name of the developer. It's owned by a gentleman named Chris Rudd, who's doing a lot of projects across the state, also in Franklin County. That the number 2 section that's highlighted there just describes the actual development as Charles had described it, the number of units and the square footage of commercial space. Number 3, it defines the boundaries of the plan, and you've seen that on the presentation. Section 4, the financial assistance.
Hey, Winston, just on that last one.
Yep.
The reason there's a section of boundaries of the plan, because the law actually allows you to create the plan boundaries outside the development, but we're not doing that. The reason you might want to do that is like if I came in here and I really wanted to help these guys, I could draw the plan to be like across the street. And then when other people came in and developed the retail because of all the houses, you would get all that tax benefit as well. But we've always tried to be conservative with it and
Right.
just have it to court in that area.
Just have it to what's affected.
Yeah.
Going to page 2, under financial assistance, it defines the type of infrastructure that's going to be placed in there: roads, streets, parking lots, facilities, garages, traffic signals, sidewalks, other public improvements that are available for public use. And this is going to be a nice development, by the way. They're going to have clubhouses, pools, walking trails. It's going to be a nice community that people are going to want to live in. And it's going to have a nice apartment stock. It's all market rate. So going on, section 5, expected benefits to the city and the county will generate annual property tax revenues of approximately $1 million in total once the project is completed. That's after the 20-year time frame. Then section 6, the distribution of property taxes and tax increment incentives. This is the part that's important that you may want to spend some time reading there. And the allocation of the TIF revenues shall be calculated and made based upon each such parcel or group of parcels and not the entire plan area. And so that's just referring to what I was telling you a minute ago. It's going to be split up into about 800 parcels, and each parcel will have to be factored in there instead of just taking, because if you just went with the 2 parcels, there wouldn't be enough of an increment. And turning the page, there's the section there that talks about with respect to the county shall retain, and talks about the 40% that the county will retain. All right, so yeah, on page 5, that was the time frame I was talking about. That defines the 3 years to start for the commercial and the 8 years for the residential to be started. And it lists the maximum allocation for this project is $16.8 million. The total construction cost is $232 million, so it's probably the largest project in Coffee County that's ever come through. The number 8 is the time period of the allocation, so 20 years, which is the standard length of time.
And the state controls that total limit.
That's right.
The limits and all that, their state law and all that.
Right. And number 10, finding of economic benefits. So that's one of the things that you're voting on, is you're agreeing that this is providing an economic development to the city and the county, which says, it's pretty broad.
And I just would like to say something about that for just a moment. So, Tullahoma's kind of, same way as Manchester, we're feeling the pressure of growth. And we've got a population of, a little over 20,000 people. Now, I've told people if you do the math on that, we've been growing about 1% a year. That means we need 80 houses a year, or 80 residences a year. We're getting a little faster than that now, so we probably need a few more than that. We've been under that number every year for several years. This is enough to provide us the growth we need for probably the next 5 to 10 years. And puts it in an area that's not developed now. It doesn't crowd up our other roads like, Country Club Drive and all those roads that are getting kind of crowded because we keep building subdivisions coming down the same feeder roads. Well, this one won't impact that, and it'll give us some relief on our need for housing, and at the same time develop some new retail property. We just think it's well needed, and that's why we were willing to consider doing a TIF for a proposal like this.
Yeah, that's a great point, too, that it's on 41A, and so it's the traffic
Which
study.
is a
that's been done.
5-lane road.
Yes, sir. And then it is interesting, the approval process is listed there too, so it talks about how that's going to work. And so it's, like I said, it's just a 6-page document. And then if you do Mary Ann, these numbers on the back do not add up, so don't add them up.
I was gonna say, I will probably call Sue.
You please, yeah, and I was gonna check with her too
I'm
about
sure
your,
I'll think
you-
of
yeah.
things that-
yeah, she can talk to you intelligently about the school split there.
She can.
And make sure, confirm that I've said that right, because I was gonna do the first thing in the morning to make sure.
Yep. Yeah, the city board's got to start coming up to speed on it as well, so we'll be having our own work study sessions to go through all this detail.
Winston, would you comment on a scenario in which Coffee County decided not to participate?
So if Coffee County didn't participate, the project probably would not happen because it wouldn't be enough of an increment to complete the deal. Or it might be on a smaller scale, or we might only get, they might keep 80% and we only get 20%, so.
Thank you.
So
I
there-
will say this one is a better deal for the county than the last one because of the 40% coming in.
Yeah.
Yep.
And you said we're looking at $1 million tax at the 20-year mark?
So once it's all,
Each year?
yeah, after 20 years, the projected revenue into the, is $1 million a year in new tax revenue.
The other thing about that is that's a project, he keeps saying projected, the reason he says projected, because it depends on a couple things, right? So they're gonna borrow so much money or have so much expense that we're willing to cover. But then how fast that gets paid off depends on how well the property values work out, right? So if they manage to sell those properties and the property values go up even more than expected, it could pay off early.
That's true. I
And that
mean,
happens
so,
quite
yeah.
often with TIFs.
And that's why it's important to, I mean, they could pay it off in faster than 20 years, and then, but 20 years is the standard time, and
maximum.
if you start to move that, then the deal changes, the percentages change, and the amounts of money, so they'd have to go back and do new projections. And I'll send you the younger report, because I'll send it out to everybody,
So
So-
yeah, keep in mind that, that projection is an estimate based on what they think the property values are gonna be. But
Yeah.
of course, until the property's built and it's assessed, you won't know for sure. Hopefully it'll be better as it goes on.
Since Commissioner Tim Morris walked in, would like to note that he does not have to send school buses in this either,
That's right.
because it'd be city schools.
That's right.
all right, if there's anything else, anybody other questions?
Thank you, Winston.
If you think of something else, please reach out anytime. My cell phone's on there, email me, and then, like I said, we've got other documents. If you'd like to see it, just let us know.
I got one other question.
Yeah, sure.
I don't know if for chance the contractor went broke, I mean, have y'all looked at that, what would happen? Because here in Coffee County, we've had some contractors go broke and then the roads never get finished, but they've got the houses built in there.
So if the contractor goes broke, the infrastructure becomes the city property, or city and county property. We had,
Whatever.
I guess
whatever
we
was actually
inherit
developed.
the
Yeah.
infrastructure, and then you would probably sell off the lots just in at some type of a bank auction.
But as far as the financing, the city is not liable
Yeah,
for
the city,
that.
city,
Yes.
or the county.
He's
is
not
non-
liable
liable
for
for
it,
any
and maybe he
financing.
declares bankrupt, and but that's another thing, right? The banks are gonna do their due diligence, cause that's the guy responsible for it.
Right.
But they've got a funding stream, so they feel a little better about that, but at the end of the day, if the guy doesn't deliver, they're gonna be held on the hook for it.
And all that, infrastructure in these phases will already be provided, like he'll already have that completed before he actually starts, pull the permits and everything else and actually build it, in each phase.
But my understanding is this guy has a good track record, so.
Yep. And then also, I passed this out, you guys are kinda interested on what, the square footage of some of these houses will be, what they're gonna be made of. It kinda just breaks it down, what they're gonna look like, so.
Yeah, you've got it handy?
Yeah,
You're
He
advanced.
handed it out.
Okay, great.
He handed it out.
Thank you. Anything else?
Nothing else for me.
All right,
Everybody's
so
good?
I certainly appreciate it. I
Good.
look forward to seeing you
Hey,
at
just
the
real quick,
full
so-
commission.
So we think our timeline schedule might be, I know we don't know for sure, but
So we are scheduled to meet with my board on the 24th and pass this and make a recommendation to the governing bodies. And then just how fast I can get it onto your agendas. And so I really would like to get it done, before the end of the year.
so that,
which is pretty
to me,
fast.
what that sounds like for this commission is it would not get back to budget finance until October, and it'd be on November.
Be on November, be on the commission November. Right.
Yes.
So that's what we're looking at.
That's great.
If
And
it
then,
don't, doesn't happen in November, it's gonna
It'll be
be
January.
January.
right.
Yeah.
And two, I just remember too, like Lennon mentioned, we did the Northgate Mall TIF, and it's been very successful and generating a lot of tax dollars. So, like I said, I think it's a good deal. So
All
I'm
right.
excited about it. Excellent. Thank you.
These next guys are waiting in line, so meeting adjourned unless y'all just really want to hang out. Talk about nothing.
I'd like to hang out and talk some more. And your daddy, I had a good long talk with your daddy.